Hey guys, it's me, and today I am here with a new chit chat, get ready with me of some sort. But this one is actually going to be a little bit different because instead of me just giving you guys life updates, I'm actually going to be doing a follow up to a video that I did about 4 years ago. And that is, I'm going to do a follow up to my Why I'm Not Goth Anymore video. I thought that it would be fun to do like a follow up to it and talk to you guys a little bit about where I was at mentally when I made that video and how I am now and everything, and what I more so identify with now in present day and everything and all that jazz. Also, I'm testing out a new setting with my camera with the lighting and everything. I threw on like a filter with the camera and everything. It's the Vivid filter. I didn't know that this existed. I just started digging around with my camera the other day and I found it. So we're gonna try this out and everything, see how it looks and how it works and whatnot, and maybe I'll be able to film on days like today where it's extremely overcast. I want to try to stay on board and on track as best as I possibly can. I don't have any notes for this, and hopefully everything will work out just fine. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop on into this video. But before we get into the fun, juicy stuff, if you guys are new here to my channel, don't forget to hit subscribe. And also, while you're down there, give this video a thumbs up because that'll help me out a lot. All my links are down in the description box below. And yeah, let's do this. Fix the exposure just a tiny little bit because I felt as if it was just a little too dark. So if it seems a little bit brighter, that's why. I watched the video from a few years ago just so I could see why I left the subculture, like what exactly I said in that video. But I wanted to know what all it was that I said so I could do like a little follow-up to see if like how I felt back then is still how I feel today. And to a degree it is still very true and everything. And also I want to like tell you guys like the differences between being goth and being alternative. Do I have a long eyebrow hair right here? Oh yeah, oh wow, that is a long eyebrow hair. Wow. Can you guys see that? My nail there. So I can see like the full hair. Wow, that is a long ass brow hair. Okay. That's an interesting start to the video. In that video, I mentioned that the reason why I stopped identifying within the subculture was because I felt as if it just wasn't a good fit for me anymore, and that I didn't, not necessarily not fit in with the subculture, but that it just wasn't where I felt as if I necessarily belonged in and everything. Because when you identify within a label, you take on everything associated with that label. And not only that, but when you identify within like a subculture such as like goth, you have to know like where it is that it came from and what spawned it and like all the history and all that jazz. And back then, I think part of the reason why I stopped identifying within the subculture was because I felt as if it was really limiting myself on my creativity and how I wanted to express myself. But also back then, I was going through like a identity crisis. Well, I say an identity crisis, more so like a moment of like questioning my identity in general, with particularly within like my sexuality and orientation and whatnot, because like for a while I was identifying as bi, but then I started thinking like, is this a good fit for me and everything, like am I just gay? But even gay didn't feel like a good like label for me, so I started identifying as queer, and queer is an umbrella term. And as I continue to like think and process with that and whatnot, I started to like adapt that also within my identity within the subculture. Like I knew like to my core I was still very much like a spooky alternative person, but I just didn't feel as if goth was the right place to identify within, given the fact that like the subculture is a music based subculture. And back then, especially, I didn't really care for the music at all, really. And still to this day, I don't really care for a lot of the music because I just didn't really care for the music, and I still don't really care for the music. It just felt weird for me to identify within the subculture, given the fact that the music plays such a big role in it. Because, I mean, like, without the music, the subculture would have never began. Because for those of you who may not know, the Gothic subculture originated in the 80s as it branched off of Britain's punk scene and was birthed by bands like Susie and the Banshees, Bauhaus, The Cure, The Smiths, Depeche Mode, Sisters of Mercy, all of them. And wow, it just got super bright on my screen. Wow. Okay. Guess we gotta tone down the exposure again. So with identifying just simply as alternative, it actually helped open up a lot of doors for me in terms of like expressing myself, and even within like identity in general. Because I felt as if I was free to like explore myself even more, and to try out new things, try out new styles and aesthetics that I wasn't before whenever I was identifying within the subculture. I mean, if you've been following me in like recent years, like my style and how I express myself has changed a lot. But I mean, there's still a lot that looks very much the same. I just love how wet looking this lid shade is. I started noticing that I was a lot happier, because I just felt as if like a lot of the weight with identifying as goth was gone. Not that there's anything wrong with identifying as goth, it's just that for me it was just such a big deal for me and everything, because it was just like I made it a big deal. And with just simply identifying as alternative instead of goth, it kind of like opened up new worlds for me, because I felt as if I was finally able to like explore myself a lot more than just how I was before when I was identifying within the subculture. Because I was able to explore and try out new styles and aesthetics and everything that still scream alternative, but they wouldn't get me any flack from like the elitists that exist out there, because they definitely do exist out there. A lot of people will tell you that goth elitists, they don't exist, or like they're not like anybody that you need to worry about, which is very true. You don't need to worry about them. But the thing is though, is that the goth elitists are really fucking annoying, and they are the ones that you are going to hear and see a lot in like comments online, making posts about things and aesthetics and talking shit about people. I mean, like, we kind of sort of saw a goth elitist pop out into the YouTube space. Was it last year or the year before, when all the goth drama started happening in the YouTube space and everything? It definitely kind of like opened up those old wounds of like having to deal with goth elitists all those years ago. But just simply identifying as goth, you're pretty limited as to what all people deem as goth, because goth in itself is very much alternative, but there's structure to it, because that's how subcultures are in general. Because like for me, I really like gothy aesthetics with like fashion and whatnot, but I also like grungy aesthetics with fashion, especially grungy aesthetics with makeup. And so with leaving the subculture, for me, it helped me to like feel more comfortable with expressing myself and trying out new things aesthetically. And I mean, like, I'm still very much alternative. I mean, look at me. I'm still very much a weirdo. It's just that I'm doing things differently now. And so, like, my taste in, like, fashion has exploded. I'm more comfortable and confident with talking about, like, the music that I listen to and like. Because it feels if, like, especially when it comes to, like, music, that's where a lot of goths come in and start, like, being, like, aggressive and everything, and like, well, I say goths, like goth elitists, is when they tend to get a little bit extra and a little bit much is when you bring up music. Because, I mean, like, everybody has their own taste, but it's almost as if, like, if you're not listening to goth music, you can't tell people that you're not listening to that music. Even some of them will even say, like, you can't even listen to, like, the newer goth bands that have come out in recent years. Like, say, like, bands like, say, like, Azrai and Lahania. I discovered a band, like, not too long ago called Rose Garden Funeral Party, I think is what they're called. And I really loved their stuff. Like, that band in particular, like, they sound like someone straight out of, like, the 80s goth scene and everything. But you'll have, like, a bunch of elitists that'll turn around and tell you, like, oh no, they're not, like, an actual goth band or anything. Like, they're just a bunch of posers and shit. And it's just, like, dude, like, let people live and do their own thing. You can't just say, like, this isn't goth because it's not from the 80s goth scene. Things change and evolve over time. And the gothic subculture is very much something where that is a very prominent issue. Like, people do not like change within the subculture. Metalheads are the same exact way, so don't think that, like, I'm not aware of that, as I'm very much a metalhead. I mean, I'm wearing a Serenia pendant right now. Even with metalheads detest change with a fiery passion. Now that I no longer have that weighing down on me, though, with, like, having to worry about, like, goths screaming at me and everything about shit, things have been going really nicely. Like, yeah, I still occasionally throw in goth-related tags on posts on, like, Instagram and Tumblr, and even here on YouTube, but even still, it seems as if the elitists are leaving me alone. But I just don't have that worry as if I'm, like, not goth enough, or I'm doing the subculture a disservice now. Because I still have such an intense love and appreciation for the subculture. Now, if you identify within the subculture and it makes you happy, continue doing so. Like, this is just me telling you guys my experience with identifying within the subculture. So, just because it didn't necessarily work for me doesn't mean that it's going to not work out for you. Don't be like the elitists and worry about other people and what they think about you. Just think about yourself and your own happiness and do what makes you happy. Like, you can still very much be like me and, like, have wide and broad tastes like I do and still identify as goth. I just personally felt as if, like, it just wasn't working for me. Now that I've talked about that, let's just go ahead and start talking about, like, the differences between being goth and alternative. I know I'm using a lot of this primer. I'm just trying to use it up because I don't care for primers anymore. As I found out that using moisturizer is just good enough for me and what I want to get out of my foundation. I need to throw this pencil away because it is so old. My mascara is on. Liner is on, so now we can move on to foundation. Okay, cool. So, there are definitely similarities between being goth and also being alternative. But there is a difference between the two. The big difference between being goth and being alternative is that being alternative is just that. It means they fall under an umbrella of what it is to be alternative. And with that, you have to understand what it means to be alternative. So to be alternative is to pretty much be someone who doesn't necessarily fit in with traditional societal standards. And so these can be like things as like being like someone who is quite grungy, metalhead, rocker, goth, like even like falling under like categories such as like kawaii, Harajuku, what have you, like all of that stuff. Like when you start to deviate from the norm aesthetically, how you present yourself to society, that is when you start to become someone who is alternative. And you start to lead a alternative lifestyle because of it. Goth and alternative pretty much go hand in hand with one another, even though they can both be quite different. Because like I said, like so many things fall under the alternative umbrella. Whereas when it comes to goth is more specific. Let's give like an example that a lot of people might be able to understand, and that is gender identity. So when it comes to gender identity, you have people who identify as non-binary. And so that brings up the question, what exactly is non-binary? Whew. Giving Ryan Potter and Heather Morehouse a run for their money. Non-binary is an umbrella term because it encompasses a lot of different things. So when someone is non-binary, it means that they don't identify within the gender binary, so male or female. But what all exactly is non-binary though? Like there's so much that can be non-binary. Because it's like you have people who are gender fluid, and you have some people that are agender, so they don't identify within any gender. And there are so many other gender identities that are out there that I personally don't know that can exist. And I mean, obviously, when that whole thing comes into play, you get people who troll around saying like, I identify as a helicopter. That's just how the weird side of the internet works. And so when it comes to being alternative, it's kind of in that same boat, but also quite different, because when you're alternative, there are so many different things under the alternative umbrella, and goth just so happens to fall underneath that umbrella. So if someone identifies as goth, that means that they identify within the gothic subculture. And the gothic subculture falls under the alternative umbrella because it's an alternative lifestyle. And when you have someone who just simply identifies as alternative, like myself, it's more so you're identifying within a umbrella term. I wonder if this guy will work. This rosy color. Let's try it out and see. Hopefully it will, because I really like this guy. I know this is like a long-winded discussion and it was kind of hard for me to stay on track and I kept repeating myself a lot of times. That's what happens when you don't have notes and you just do things on the fly. I hope this video was helpful and I hope I made sense throughout this video, and I hope you guys also enjoyed it. And I'm just obsessed with this eye makeup. I love this eye makeup so much. It's so pretty. It's so nice. I love the lid color. It's so pretty. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope like me revisiting this topic and everything was fun for you guys. I hope you guys maybe have learned something, I guess. I don't know. If you guys want me to do more of these type of videos where it's like I do my makeup while talking about a particular topic, let me know in the comments below and I'll be sure to do more of these in the future. So yeah, but until I see you guys in my next video, whatever the hell that may be. Goodbye.